I personally feel that this video is long overdue, but better late than never, right guys? I also hope that those of you watching out there are maintaining a happy and healthy existence that is free of bullshit and free of assholes. And with that being said, let's get right into it. This second story is very different from the first one because unlike that last gossiping, dickless piece of shit that I spoke of in part 1, this situation actually affected me on a deeper level. It was a very strange and quiet drift that happened completely without my knowledge, and I find it to be unfortunate, but these are the facts as I've lived them. So the last time I saw this particular friend in person was 2011. And let me tell you guys right off the bat that this is a man who actually earned the title of my best friend. As cheesy and as corny as that may sound, that's something I take very, very seriously. If you don't, that's fine. I don't give a fuck. It's not about you. It's about me and my take on it. Just like love, just like respect, this is something that's earned, in my opinion. And this man earned that title. Now, even though we was living in two different states at the time, this is a man who was still my best friend. You know what I mean? Because he was just a good guy, genuinely good person. He never meant any malice toward anybody, never meant any harm to anyone. You know what I mean? We had our friction here and there, typical bullshit that friends go through, but it was never enough, to the point where we had to go our own separate ways. This is a man I would definitely vouch for because he was a stand-up cat, plain and simple. But moving on. Apparently he was in New York City visiting family up in the Bronx, and he calls me up and says, "Bro, I'm in the city for the next 2 days. What you doing? Let's get together. Let's go hang out. Let's do something." And he called me on a free day, and I said, "Hell yeah, let's fucking do it." We spontaneously met up. I met the 3 other cousins he was with. They were all cool people as well. You understand? We got along. It was no problem. It was a really good day because we went through Central Park. We walked through Central Park. We walked through Times Square, just catching up, bullshitting, joking. You know what I'm saying? It was just totally fucking kosher as far as I can tell. The day had ended and we parted ways. By the time I got home, I was elated. I was satisfied. I was just fucking happy that I spent the day with my homie. You know what I'm saying? My best friend. Unfortunately, that was the last time we ever chilled together, and literally from that point in time, years went by with no communication whatsoever. I had found it strange and everything, but once again, let me repeat this from the last episode, from part 1. These things happen. Sometimes even two good friends can just kind of drift apart and go their own ways. No negativity, no bullshit, no anger, no nothing like that. You just kind of drift. It happens. I had wished him no ill will feelings. I held no gripes or nothing. I just said, I hope the dude's alright. Salute to him and his health. A few more years had gone by, and I finally heard through the grapevine that he had stopped talking to me because I apparently, and unbeknownst to me, had offended his then girlfriend. I was dumbfounded, and I couldn't help but roll my eyes at this juvenile bullshit. Now, for the record, let me just state my full and complete interaction with his girlfriend. In 2010, this is about a year before I saw my friend for the very last time, guys. 2010, we 3 had been in a chat together over Xbox Live. My friend, his girl, and myself. Just us 3 chatting. She and I were making very basic small talk. She mentioned where she's from, what she does for a living. And this being my very first conversation with her, I was just getting to know her. Everything was cool. At least I thought so. However, the dynamic of the conversation definitely changed when my friend started inviting these other juvenile, immature fucking clowns into the chat, and they sort of took over the convo. My friend went AFK and she said nothing as I talked to these new guys. The subject became about racial diversity between the state they were in, Massachusetts, and my home city of New York, as well as the balance of the ghetto mentality in each state. It was a pretty civil discussion, though the difference in opinion was very strong. And as we debated, let me remind you once again that she said absolutely nothing while this was going on. When the conversation with the clowns ended, I was done with X Live for the day and I told everybody peace out. Yes, they were immature, but they still had enough respect and class to end the conversation on a positive note. It was alright, But to my friend's girl specifically, I said, "Hey, listen, so-and-so, it was nice meeting you, nice talking to you. Hopefully we can do this again in the future." And she responded with, "Yeah, you too." That was the end of it. That was my full and only interaction with my buddy's girl. Fast forward to about 2014 when I had learned of her apparent outrage with my disrespectful language. Now, I have no idea what this girl can be offended by because my attitude and energy toward her when we did speak that one day was that of a saint. But people are funny like that. I also remember thinking like, this could be why my friend hasn't been speaking to me all these years. Her. And how fucking disappointing. Now put yourself in my shoes, people. What do you think caused the fallout between my friend and I? Or at least the silence. And it doesn't have to be a fallout. What do you think might have caused this silence? Right? As far as I knew, we were perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? Look, just because two people aren't talking to each other and there's no contact doesn't necessarily mean that there's bad blood. Sometimes people just go their own way. He has his life, I have mine. And that's what I truly believed it was all this time. Now, since I just found out in 2014 that his girl had a problem with me and I won an only conversation from 2010, you know what I'm saying? You saw me in 2011. Why didn't you bring it up to me then? Don't mean we gotta fucking scrap or nothing like that. We could just talk like men. And not to mention, bro, you're my friend. I love this dude like a brother. You didn't say nothing about this issue. Maybe she was offended by the things I was saying to the clowns in the chat that day. You know what I mean? I don't know. But look, I admit I speak very bluntly on topics I'm passionate or knowledgeable about. But my friends know this about my character and we've never beefed over it. But all of a sudden this girl comes into the picture and your fucking perception of me magically changes along with your morals. Now ain't that some shit? Let's reestablish the timelines here for a clear understanding of what happened. 2010. I meet his girl over X Live and we have a very friendly conversation. When those other clowns joined the chat and changed the dynamic, something I said then offended her and she goes and makes a mountain out of a molehill. 2011. My friend visits New York and never once brings this up to me while we were hanging out. This isn't surprising because he's a very timid and non-confrontational dude, but if there's anyone he can talk about this with, it's me, the guy who considers him his best friend, right or wrong. 2014. I found out she's labeled me disrespectful, and seeing how we only had one pleasant conversation, I was left confused as to why and how she gets to label me anything negative. For extra clarity, let me now state that she was white. She was the only white person in the chat that day after the group of guys joined in. Why does this matter? Probably because the debate regarding the ghetto mentality and the state-to-state diversity was amongst Hispanics. Basically, everybody in the chat was Hispanic except for her, being the only white person. And being the only white person, she probably felt that I have no grounds to speak here. This is, something I have no experience in, so let me just stay quiet. And that's fine. She chose to not say anything. Cool. Also, let me mention that nobody shunned her. Nobody said, you're white, you can't speak on this. We all accepted her silence and just continued on debating. I assume at some point, me giving my opinion and me, especially with my choice of words, probably offended her at some point. Which is a stupid thing to do. I've come to understand at this point in my life that there are more emotional people in this world than there are logical people. Not a bad thing, it's just the way the world is. People who choose to be white knights, no pun intended, and snowflakes and weaklings about things, they just can't wait to be offended. I guess she's one of them, right? Because my choice of words most definitely were a little harsh, but the other dudes didn't have a problem with it because they understand this is how people from the hood talk. If you don't like it, cover your motherfucking ears, don't get offended because that's the stupidest thing you can do. I also suppose this is why she labeled me disrespectful. This is weak, petty shit, but the problem arises when no one has the fucking balls to talk to me directly, like adults, and a presumably good friendship suffers from it. And you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and say it since I have his permission anyway. She said this directly to my younger brother, who, by the way, has absolutely fucking nothing to do with the situation. Apparently the three of them were hanging out in New Hampshire, them three being my friend, his girl, and my brother. They were hanging out over there and she decided to share her horrifying, very offended experience with my brother, as in, yeah, Gio said this and I became offended. Okay. But what I find the most disappointing about her comment is that my friend who's known me for years prior to meeting her decided to co-sign her bullshit, as in, yeah, Gio crossed the line and he offended me too. Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. Bro, you've known me longer than her, and you never once said anything about my speech. You never said, oh, it's offensive or anything like that. And I totally accept the fact that, as people grow, we change and everything like that. But why is it that you only became offended when she became offended? You see how it looks, right, guys? If there was truly a disagreement or I crossed some kind of fucking line, you could have told me about it and we could have worked it out like friends do. And that's the second story. How did I handle it? Well, I had no choice but to shrug off an entire friendship with a dude I considered to be a very good buddy and a very good person overall. I would never take that from him, But he clearly chose to side with his dramatic little girlfriend and there's nothing I could do about that. It's fine. I also come to understand that in this world you're going to come across people who are very easily influenced by third parties and, that's me putting it very respectfully. I love this dude like a brother, and he knows this because I actually said it to him. And unlike the weak-minded cocksucker from the first story, I actually care how this one ends. I found him over Xbox Live and wished him a happy birthday a couple years ago, just to let him know that I ain't the one harboring negative feelings. He was receptive, and the brief texting convo we had there was cool. If this were to be our final communication ever, I could sleep well knowing that all the bullshit came from one side, or rather, a third party's interference. Hopefully one day he'll realize this truth and reestablish what was broken. But if that day never comes, then that's cool too. My conscience is clean and I have no guilt to bear. Of that, I am most definitely certain. So there you have it, guys. Friends and foes. One story involving a limey fucking bitch and the other involving a kind but misguided soul. At the end of the day, life still goes on. So what is a friend? Besides the obvious, they got your back and they're always there for you, a real friend would never allow a third party to affect a solid friendship, at least not without reasonable, just explanation. From petty differences to wild arguments, anything can be worked out as long as both parties are mature, sincere, and willing to salvage the relationship. As I said before, effort is the most important variable on both sides. For the sake of your own integrity, make sure you're good to those who are good to you. I find that it's the best philosophy you can practice in terms of relationships with others. Be fair, be just, and always handle every situation to the best of your ability. Never allow anyone to ruin your life, foe or even friend. Thanks for watching.